at the Pittsburgh Project, Urban Impact, Allegheny Elementary School, Allegheny Middle School, and Alderdice High School.
And more breaking news, this time from a local courtroom.
2 suspects in the shooting outside a funeral in Brighton Heights last fall have now been held for trial at
The organ plays. A mother clutches her tissue. A child fidgets in the church pew. 300 mourners bow their heads in prayer. Then 20 shots crack through the air. Bodies hit the floor. Not from prayer. From bullets. 6 people bleed on church steps. 300 mourners scramble toward exits that might lead to death. Destiny of Faith Church, Brighton Heights, Pittsburgh. A funeral just became a crime scene. But this massacre? It started 13 days earlier with a grandmother waiting for a bus. She had 12 seconds left to live. And nobody knew her death would turn a funeral into a war zone. This is the story of how one shooting created another. How the system failed so completely that killers walked free to the church doors. How a place of peace became a battlefield because justice wore the wrong address. Welcome to a story where every funeral becomes a target. Where ankle bracelets get ignored. Where police show up 3 blocks too late. You think you're safe in sacred spaces? John's family thought so too. Before we show you how 13 days of system failures led to bullets in a church, let me ask you something. How many of you watching right now have attended a funeral in the past year? Every single one of you trusted that sacred space would keep you safe. But when the system fails and shooters don't respect anything, those church doors become prison bars. Hit that subscribe button because the next story we cover might be happening in your neighborhood right now. And tell me in the comments, should churches hire armed security for funerals? Or does that prove we've already lost as a society? Because what you're about to see will change how you think about safety forever. Welcome to Hot True Crime Stories. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn on the notification bell icon so you won't miss out on our most important true crime documentary. October 15th, 10:05 p.m. Betty Jean Avery stands at her usual bus stop. 59 years old, grandmother of 7. She checks the schedule. The number 54 should arrive at 10:08. She has 3 minutes to wait. She'll never board that bus. Across the street, Jacqueline Mahalik rushes past the giant eagle. 33 years old, mother of 4 children. Ages 11 months to 8 years. She glances at her phone. Running late for her 10:15 shift. She has 10 minutes to live. Neither woman knows they're standing in a kill zone. John Hornezes Jr. leans against his car near West Park. 20 years old. His friends call him ambitious, trying to find his way. He's not trying tonight. Tonight, he's armed and waiting for enemies who are already here. The surveillance cameras at Sunoco capture everything. 2 groups of men with guns. 55 shots about to fly in 50 seconds. Someone shouts across the gas station lot. What's up now? The ShotSpotter system detects the first burst. 6 rounds. Pause. Another burst. Another. John draws his weapon. Returns fire. His body will be found in the park with a gun beside his arm. But Betty and Jacqueline aren't fighting anybody. Betty collapses at the bus stop, still clutching her purse. Jacqueline bleeds on the sidewalk. Her phone displays 17 missed calls from work. John dies near a playground where children will find bullet casings tomorrow. 3 bodies. 1 was the target. 2 were just breathing in the wrong place. Police arrest Jalone Hines, Sharon Troutman, Samuel Pegay. Homicide charges filed. Justice seems swift. But ballistics reports reveal a problem. The bullets that killed Betty and Jacqueline don't match the guns police recovered. Charges get dropped. When courts fail, streets take over. John's friends watch the news. They see killers walking free. They hear about dropped charges and technical difficulties. They make a decision. If the system won't deliver justice, they will. Every subscriber here has walked past strangers having an argument. You assumed it was none of your business. You kept walking, minded your own business. But Betty and Jacqueline made that same choice. They ignored the tension, the stares, the growing crowd of angry young men. Subscribe now because we break down the warning signs everyone else misses. The moments when you should run, not walk away. Here's what I want to know. If you saw John with a gun that night, would you have called police or minded your own business? Drop your real answer below, because your choice might have saved 3 lives. Next, we'll show you how a 19-year-old convinced the system to set him free. Free to plan the perfect revenge. Meet Sean Davis, 19 years old. McKees Rocks. April 2022. He shoots up a downtown electronics store. Gets caught. Pleads guilty to attempted aggravated assault. Judge Thomas Flaherty sentences him to 10 to 23 months in prison. Davis serves 0 days behind bars. Instead, he gets electronic home monitoring. An ankle bracelet. Freedom with conditions. The ankle monitor tracks his every move. Sends alerts when he leaves his approved area. Designed to protect the public from convicted violent offenders. The technology works perfectly. The humans monitoring it? That's where everything breaks down. June 2022. His probation officer gets 4 separate alerts over 4 days. Unauthorized travel. Davis admits it. Says he's visiting his girlfriend. Gets warned. Keeps doing it. September 25th, 2022. Davis makes a video call from jail where he's visiting another inmate. He demonstrates something on camera. Watch this, he tells his friend. Shows him how to remove the ankle monitor. How to put it back on. How to fool the system. I'm not worried about probation checking on weekends. Davis says that he's laughing. October 26th, 2022. 2 days before the funeral shooting, the Allegheny County Adult Probation Office receives an alert. Davis's ankle bracelet has been removed. The system works. The alert goes out. The technology does its job. What happens next? Nothing. No action was taken. That's what the internal investigation finds later. Too many false alerts, they said. The probation officer became numb to the warnings. Boy who cried wolf scenario. Except this time, the wolf was real. The wolf had a gun. The wolf was planning to shoot up a funeral. While the alert sat ignored on someone's desk, Davis was free to plan mass murder. The technology designed to stop him worked flawlessly. The human supposed to respond? Failed completely. Davis didn't act alone. Meet Hezekiah Nixon, 16 years old. August 2022. Connected to a separate homicide. A gun thrown into the Ohio River. Evidence linking him to murder. This teenager was already suspected of killing someone before he ever met Davis. 2 violent offenders. 1 free despite ankle monitor alerts. 1 free despite murder connections. Both about to turn a funeral into a massacre. This wasn't random violence. This was escalating violence among the same network of people. The funeral shooting wasn't an isolated incident. It was the latest episode in an ongoing war. A war the system kept enabling through failures, dropped charges, ignored alerts. Technology worked. Humans failed. People died. Right now, someone on electronic monitoring in your city is taking off their ankle bracelet. The alerts are going off. The system is screaming warnings. And just like with Sean, nobody's checking. That notification sound you just heard from your phone? At least you respond to yours. Subscribe if you want to know when dangerous people are loose in your area. Because the system sure won't tell you. Should probation officers face criminal charges when their negligence leads to murders? Yes or no? Defend your answer in the comments. Because in 48 hours, Davis's freedom will cost 6 people their blood. And it all started with an ignored computer alert. October 16th. Mayor Ed Gainey stands at Cedar and Stockton. Bloodstains still mark the concrete. I need you to call and tell us what you know, he says to the cameras. I want you to speak up and say something. But across Pittsburgh, different conversations are happening. Conversations about revenge. About who needs to pay. About which funeral to target. The Hornezes family starts planning John's service. They know the danger that they've heard the threats. October 20th. The family meets with funeral directors. They choose Destiny of Faith Church on Brighton Road. A place of peace. A sanctuary. That same day, the threats begin. Text messages. Social media posts deleted within minutes. Words whispered on street corners. The message is clear. John's funeral won't be peaceful. Screenshots recovered later by investigators show the planning. See you at the funeral. October 26th. The family formally requests police protection for the service. Pittsburgh Public Safety approves immediately. 2 officers will be assigned. The funeral is in 48 hours. Everyone feels relief. Protection is coming. But somewhere between approval and deployment, something goes wrong. Wires cross. Addresses get mixed up. The officers receive their assignment. A funeral home 3 blocks from the church. October 28th, 7 a.m. Officers arrive at the funeral home. Empty parking lot. No activity. They radio dispatch. No funeral scheduled at this location. Stand by, comes the response. The officers wait. Check again at 8 a.m. Still nothing. At 8:45, they leave. Meanwhile, 3 blocks away, mourners begin arriving at Destiny of Faith Church. Paige Davis, John's godmother, notices immediately no police presence. Where are the officers? She asks funeral staff. They should be here. We requested them. 10:00 a.m. The hearse arrives. Still no police. 11 a.m. 300 mourners fill the church. Gospel music plays. Prayers begin. Outside, multiple shooters take positions. Church security cameras record everything. 12:02 p.m. A figure in black appears at the corner. Then another. Inside, the pastor speaks about forgiveness. About breaking cycles of violence. About young lives lost too soon. Outside, fingers rest on triggers. The surveillance shows 20 minutes of reconnaissance. 20 minutes of preparation. 20 minutes when police should have been there, but weren't. 12:04 p.m. The service ends. Mourners begin filing out. Paige clutches her purse. Children hold their parents' hands. The shooters retreat. Return 24 minutes later with weapons drawn. 300 people walk toward church doors that lead to a killing field. The officers are still 3 blocks away at an empty funeral home. Your family member dies violently. You request protection for the funeral. The police say yes. But when bullets start flying, they're 3 blocks away at the wrong address. Still think the system works? Subscribe because we show you how to protect yourself when officials can't. When GPS fails. When protection becomes a lie. If someone murdered your family member and got away with it, would you show up at their funeral? Be honest in the comments. What would you do when the system fails you completely? Because in 60 seconds, those church doors are about to open, and hell is waiting outside. 12:04 p.m. October 28th. Inside Destiny of Faith Church, the pastor delivers his closing words. Let us find peace in our hearts. Let us break the cycle of violence. 300 mourners prepare to leave. Mothers gather their children. The elderly reach for their canes. Outside, 2 figures in black check their weapons one final time. The church doors open. The crack splits the air. Inside the church, heads turn. Was that a car backfiring? The second shot answers their question. Bodies drop to the floor. Not in prayer this time. The pastor's microphone catches his voice. Get down. Everyone down. Children scream. Adults throw themselves over the small ones. ShotSpotter detects 5 rounds. Pause. 15 more in rapid succession. 23 shots total. Multiple shooters. Different positions. This isn't random. It's coordinated execution. Outside, 6 people fall on church steps. Blood spreads across concrete where minutes ago mourners hugged and shared memories. 1 victim takes 13 bullets. 13. That's not shooting. That's erasing someone from existence. The live stream captures everything. John's casket abandoned at the altar. Funeral programs scattered across pews like confetti. A child's shoe left behind as families run for exits that might lead to death. Paige Davis crouches behind a wooden pew, still clutching the tissue she held during prayers. 90 seconds of gunfire. 90 seconds to violate everything sacred. Silence. Then sirens. Police arrive to a scene they failed to prevent. Ambulances scream toward Allegheny General Hospital. 6 wounded outside. 1 fighting for life. Inside, 300 traumatized souls who came to bury 1 victim of gun violence and nearly became victims themselves. The image that haunts Pittsburgh. Uniformed officers carrying John's casket to the hearse. The funeral he couldn't have in peace. Even the horse pulling the funeral carriage was hit. Bullet fragments in its flank. When you shoot up a funeral, when you violate a church, when you turn mourning into massacre, you cross every line that separates humans from animals. Rob Dennis stands near the church afterward. You see how quiet it is now? It's always quiet like this. This doesn't happen here. But it did happen. At a church. During a funeral. In broad daylight. If not at church, then where? If not during final goodbyes, then when? If men with guns will shoot up a funeral, what boundary remains? The mayor shows up. Makes another speech. This has to stop, he says. But the streets have their own momentum. Their own laws. Their own terrible logic where shooting up a funeral makes sense to someone. 300 people trusted that church would keep them safe during their most vulnerable moment. 6 are in the hospital because that trust was broken. Every person watching this has been to a church, mosque, synagogue, or temple. None of you are as protected as you think. Subscribe because places of worship aren't sanctuaries anymore. Should mourners at high-risk funerals be required to go through metal detectors? Or does that destroy the dignity of saying goodbye? Because what comes next will show you exactly who pulled those triggers and how they almost got away with it. A child's shoe left behind as families run for exits that might lead to death. Paige Davis crouches behind a wooden pew, still clutching the tissue she held during prayers. The shooting stops. The screaming continues. Surveillance cameras catch two figures running from the church. Black clothing, masks covering their faces. They jump into a black Hyundai Elantra. License plate clearly visible on camera. The kind of mistake that ends criminal careers. 40 minutes later, Sean and Hezekiah return to the same vehicle. They think they're safe if they're wrong. The license plate leads police straight to McKees Rocks. Straight to an address registered under Sean Davis's name. The same Sean who removed his ankle bracelet 2 days ago. The same Sean whose alerts were ignored. Police set up surveillance. Wait. Watch. 9:45 p.m. Two figures approach the black Hyundai. It's timed. McKees Rocks Bridge. Traffic stop. Both suspects see the lights. Both run. Sean bolts toward the riverbank. Hezekiah heads for the woods. As Hezekiah runs, he throws something off the bridge. Something black and heavy that splashes into the river below. The murder weapon. Gone. Or so he thinks. River rescue teams don't give up easy. They find the gun. Black handgun. Reported stolen from Shaler Township. Ballistics confirm it. This weapon fired the shots at Destiny of Faith Church. Hezekiah threw away his freedom when he threw away that gun. But the physical evidence doesn't stop there. Black puffy jacket on Sean. Matches the surveillance video perfectly. Blue and gray Nike Air Max shoes. Same brand, same colors caught on camera. Hezekiah's jacket has a distinctive silver button. Visible in the restaurant footage from 20 minutes before the shooting. Gunshot residue on gloves. On jacket cuffs. On their hands. But the most damning evidence? Sean's boxer shorts. The waistband of Sean's underwear shows a distinctive pattern. That same pattern appears in surveillance footage. Visible when the shooter's shirt rides up during the attack. His underwear convicted him. You can plan a murder. You can wear masks and gloves. You can throw guns in rivers. But you can't change your underwear pattern after cameras catch it. Crystal clear surveillance footage from multiple angles. License plate traced to exact address. Recovered murder weapon with ballistics match. Clothing that perfectly matches video evidence. Gunshot residue on hands and clothing. Distinctive underwear pattern visible in footage. This isn't circumstantial evidence. This is a mountain of proof that crushes any reasonable doubt. The evidence against these shooters was overwhelming. Cameras, DNA, ballistics, witnesses. Yet some of you still think they might be innocent. That's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps dangerous people on the streets. Subscribe if you want to see how real investigations work versus the lies defense attorneys tell. Should a 16-year-old who shoots up a funeral be tried as an adult or given a second chance? What's your line for juvenile crime? Because Hezekiah crossed every line that exists. Next, we'll show you how defense lawyers tried to make this mountain of evidence disappear. The preliminary hearing lasts 4 hours. Prosecutor Emma Shodell presents the surveillance video. Multiple angles, clear timestamps, two figures casing the church for 22 minutes. Defense attorney Wendy Williams fires back immediately. You can't identify who these shooters are. Their faces are covered. They're dressed in all black. You can't make out any identifiable features. The judge listens. The families watch. The evidence speaks. Williams attacks every piece of evidence. The surveillance video? Not clear enough. The black jacket and Nike shoes? Common clothing items. The license plate trace? Circumstantial. The recovered gun? Could belong to anyone. There's not one shred of physical evidence tying Mr. Davis to the church, Williams declares. She calls the entire case mere suspicion. Shodell doesn't back down. The evidence is strong and plentiful. She walks the courtroom through the timeline. Two men arrive together. Case the church together. Return with guns together. Flee together. The synchronized actions. The matching vehicle registration. The clothing that perfectly matches surveillance footage. The cumulative weight of evidence pointing to guilt. Then comes the moment that ends the debate. Shodell presents the waistband evidence. Sean's distinctive boxer shorts pattern visible in surveillance footage when his shirt rides up during the shooting. The courtroom goes silent. You can argue about jacket colors and shoe brands. You can claim video isn't clear enough, but you can't explain away your underwear appearing in murder footage. Judge Michelle Santicola reviews the evidence mountain, multiple surveillance cameras. License plate traced to defendant's address. Murder weapon recovered from river. Ballistics match confirmed. Clothing matches video evidence. Gunshot residue on hands and clothes. Distinctive underwear pattern visible in footage. She agrees. The prosecution met its burden of proof. All charges bound over to common pleas court. Trial will proceed. Hezekiah takes a deal. Pleads guilty at age 19 to aggravated assault and criminal conspiracy. 11 to 22 years in prison. He'll serve real time for shooting up a funeral. But he could walk free in 11 years while his victims suffer forever. Sean refuses to plea. Wants his day in court. Still believes he can beat the evidence. His trial continues. Here's the contradiction that should anger everyone. The same system that ignored Sean's ankle bracelet alerts now works perfectly in court. Cameras that caught every detail of the crime get scrutinized by defense attorneys claiming they show nothing. Evidence that would convict any reasonable person gets dismissed as mere suspicion. The technology worked. The humans failed. Then the lawyers tried to make both disappear. Hezekiah got 11 to 22 years for shooting up a funeral. That means he could be free in 11 years while his victims suffer for life. Defense attorneys convinced some of you that surveillance video lies and physical evidence means nothing. Subscribe because we expose the legal loopholes that put killers back on the streets. That if you were on the jury, would you convict based on surveillance video alone? Or do you need to see their faces clearly? Where's the line between reasonable doubt and letting killers walk free? Because that line determines who lives and who dies in your neighborhood. This wasn't just about John's funeral. This was part of an ongoing turf battle spanning months. Retaliation for retaliation for retaliation. Nobody remembers who started the cycle. Nobody cares. The only thing that matters is the next target. Police call it an escalating conflict. The streets call it survival. When justice fails, revenge takes over. When revenge succeeds, more revenge follows. The cycle feeds itself. Betty Avery. Beautiful brown Betty, with her infectious smile. Grandmother of 7 who died waiting for a bus that would never come. Jacqueline Mahalik. Mother of 4 children who lit up every room she entered. Killed walking to a job that would wait forever. John Hornezes Jr. 20 years old, trying to find his way. Found death in a park where children play. 6 more wounded at his funeral. Their wounds heal. Their trauma doesn't. Laura Avery, Betty's daughter, pleads with the city. Please lay down your arms. It harms everyone. Bridget Mahalik, Jacqueline's mother, speaks through tears. Her children will live their lives without her. Mayor Gainey keeps making speeches. Don't retaliate, he begs. Come forward with information. But the streets have their own language. Their own laws. Their own terrible momentum. Today, if you visit Cedar and Stockton, you'll find flowers for Betty. Photos of Jacqueline. Candles that neighbors keep lit. 2 innocent women dead. 6 wounded at a funeral. 3 young men dead or in prison. Families destroyed. A community traumatized. For what? Territory that nobody owns. Respect that bullets can't earn. Street code that turns grandmothers into casualties. 2022 Pittsburgh matched 2021's homicide rate by October. But numbers don't capture empty chairs at Sunday dinner. Numbers don't explain to children why mommy isn't coming home. Numbers don't show the PTSD in church congregations. The fear in mothers' eyes when their sons leave the house. Statistics measure death. They don't measure the living death of those left behind. When will the cycle end? How many more funerals will become crime scenes? What boundary remains if church steps aren't safe? Can a community heal when violence keeps escalating? These questions have no answers because the people who could answer them are dead or in prison or planning the next attacks. Tomorrow, someone in your city will plan revenge for something that happened last week. Someone else will choose the wrong bus stop, the wrong church, the wrong time to walk outside. The system will fail again. Ankle bracelets will be ignored. Police will go to wrong addresses, and innocent people will die because violence has its own logic that doesn't include innocence. Every person who doesn't subscribe is another person who won't see the warning signs until it's too late. That red button isn't just for videos. It's your early warning system for when your neighborhood becomes a war zone. Tomorrow we're covering the case that made veteran detectives quit. The evidence that disappeared. The killer who walked free. After hearing this entire story, tell me honestly, do you think Betty and Jacqueline deserve to die because they happen to live in that neighborhood? Because that's exactly what street justice says. Everyone's a target. Remember their names. Remember their faces. Remember that they died for nothing more than existing in the wrong place when men decided to solve problems with bullets. Thank you for watching to the end, and I will see you on the next episode of Hot True Crime Stories. Stay safe.